So I'm going to show you how to install Windows through a USB drive, and there are software to do this like Win2USB. In my case, it didn't work for me. The setup still gave me an error. So I found this other way, which is basically installing Windows quote unquote manually, and we're going to use the command prompt with some commands to set up our drive and to install Windows. So the ISO I got from the Microsoft website. You can get it from Media Creation Tool, I believe it's called, if you have Windows. But you can also get it from the website if you don't. So before you start, you want to go to your BIOS setup or your BIOS configuration, and you want to enable legacy. And for me, I just turned off secure boot. I don't know if you really need that, but I did it anyways. And in my case, if it doesn't show up the next time you go to the boot select screen, fully turn off your computer and then turn it back on, and then go to the boot select screen. And it should pop up there. The first time it didn't, but after doing that, it worked for me in my case. So here I'm going to show you the error I'm getting on the Windows setup. So these are the drives I can install in, but the drive I want to install in gives you an error saying that the setup does not support installing Windows through a USB. So we're going to go back and we're going to go to where it says install now. And you can click on repair your computer and then troubleshoot, and then they can be CMD prompt, I believe. This process I'm going to show you is from a YouTuber called EJ. He also explains this whole process, and if your motherboard does not support UEFI, he has an alternative version that can work as well. But in my case, I'm just going to show UEFI. Alright, cool. So first off, you're going to want to use diskpart. This is a program to manage your disks and drives. So after running the program, you want to type list disk, and it's going to list all your disks that you have connected to your computer. Alright, so in my case, I want to use disk 3, so I'm going to put cell disk 3 for select disk there. And once you have that, you can list disk again, and there should be a star right next to the disk you selected. Alright, so now that you have your disk selected, you want to convert it to GPT. So after converting it, you want to type create par EFI size equals 500 with the size of 500 megabytes. And then you want to format this with fs equals fat32. Alright, so now that you have formatted, you want to assign a letter. So when assigning a letter, there are some letters in use. If you use list vol or list vol, this is going to show you all the volumes, and it should show you the letters that are in use. You just can't use those letters. So in this case, I'm just going to use letter B for boot, since this is the boot partition. When assigning a letter, you also want to make sure you remember this letter. So now you want to enter create par pri for creating a primary partition. And after creating the partition, you want to format fs equals ntfs quick. This is going to format your partition. Now for your primary partition, you can put any letter as well. But in this case, since I'm using bootrec, which is how I'm running the Windows setup ISO, I can't use C. But either way, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to put P for primary partition, but remember to keep in mind this letter. Alright, so now you can exit diskpart, and you can type dism / get-wiminfo / wimfile :d : /S sources / install.wim. And here's going to give you a bunch of indexes. Here are all like the Windows versions you can use. Usually you can just use one, which is Windows Home. So now that we know that Windows Home is index 1, we're going to enter dism / apply -image /imagefile :d : /S sources / install.wim /index:1, which is the Windows Home, and then /apply dir P for my primary partition / and this is gonna install Windows into your primary partition. Okay, so basically now what we're gonna do is scan for an operating system to make sure Windows is properly installed. As you can see, it says total identified Windows installation, and it says 1. Now we're gonna set up our boot partition. To do this, we're gonna do bcdboot, and then your primary partition /windows /s, and then your boot partition. Now that we set that up, we're going to go to regedit. So now we're going to drop down local machine and make sure you select it. Then go to file and then load hive. So this should open your file manager. We want to go to this PC and then your primary partition. And then you want to look for Windows System 32 and then config. Now that you're in the config folder, you want to double click on system, name this SYS, and then you want to go back to file, load hive, and then double click on software and then name it SOFT. Now that you created those two folders, you want to drop down soft, and then you want to drop down Microsoft, and then you want to drop down Windows, then drop down current version, then drop down policies, and then just click on system. So in this folder, you want to right click on empty space and then go to new and then click on D word, and you want to name this verbose status. And then you want to make sure the value is 1. And then in the same place, there should be a name called enable cursor. You want to double click that and then enter 0 as the value. And now you want to return to soft and you can bring it back up. Now you want to drop down sys and then look for setup. You want to select it and then look for smd line and then enter cmd.exe as the value. Now once you're done with those files, you want to exit regedit, and then in the cmd you can type wpeutil reboot, and this is going to reboot your computer. So when it restarts, you want to go back to the boot select screen, and the drive that you installed Windows to should be bootable. If you don't see it there, you can turn off your computer and then start it back up. So once you boot into your drive, you're gonna wait a bit and it's gonna pop up a CMD prompt. Here you want to type oobe/windeploy, and then when you press enter, the loading circle in the bottom should change to getting ready. Once it says getting ready, you want to type net user/add and then any username you want your user to be, and then you want to make this user to be in the administrator group. So you want to put net local group /add administrators and then your username, and then you want to do net local group /add users, capital U, and then your username to enter the user group. Now that you set up your user, you want to go back to regedit. You want to drop down local machine, then drop down system, then select setup, and then in setup you want to find a CMD line, double click on it and make sure it's blank. Then you want to look for oobe in progress and you want to enter as 0 as the value, and then look for setup phase, make sure that's 0 in value, and then in setup supported put 0 for the value, and then in setup type put 0 for value, and then finally in system setup in progress make sure that's 0 as well. After that, you can now finally exit regedit. In the CMD you want to type task mgr. It's gonna pop up task manager, and here you want to go to bottom to more details and then top to details, and you want to scroll down until you see winlogon.exe. You want to select it and then kill that task, and then after you kill that process, it's going to load again but with a blue screen, and here it's going to take a while until something shows up. Now finally, this might show up. It's your privacy settings. Yeah, you can click no and then they will track you anyways, but after this you can finally now use Windows.